Hi there, my name is Ray. I live here in Bristol in the UK, and throughout my life I've dealt with many people, but particularly young adults. For some reason it seemed to be that this is what I was called to do. So many years ago, for instance, I was a teacher, and then secondly, in the 1980s I set up communities, of young men and women who were wanting to discover themselves. But more recently, something new has emerged and is happening, which I'd like to share with you today. I believe very much that there is an evolutionary period going on. It's not if or but or whether there is or isn't. It just is, and we're living in it. The main thing is being conscious or unconscious. And unfortunately, as you see from a lot of society, there's a lot of unconscious people are walking around, are not lacking that awareness. And for me, awareness is so important. The awareness of being, the awareness of oneself in this particular world, And it's just not awareness of things that are going on. It's awareness of yourself, and particularly of your higher self. Most people live, as we know, and they equate themselves, with their ordinary lives. My name is Ray, and I was a teacher. I did this, and I did that, and did the other. Whereas in fact, that is a manifestation at the moment of this greater self, the self with a capital S. And to get in touch with that and be aware of that is so important, and the first basic step towards any kind of growth. Now, this evolutionary period, I believe, without going into all the details, is one of the greatest evolutionary periods that we're seeing, as it is not only just human life that is changing in the sense of the way we live our lives. It is actually inner self and that inner being which is changing. And I've had experience of this myself over the years of experiencing this, at least on two occasions. Many years ago, in fact, when I was teaching, I had an experience when I was sharing this little meditation group with some young adults, what we call sixth formers in those days, and we were just sharing, and the whole room just filled up, and all of us was touched by something greater. And all I wanted to do at that stage was to kind of spend my time in meditation and prayer and stuff like that, And the young people also who were in that day also experienced that, who were there. And this was so kind of an extraordinary experience. And then more recently, about 10 years ago, the same thing happened to me in India. I was actually born in India. My mother was Anglo-Indian, and my father was a British soldier. And one of my brothers and I decided in 2008 to go back, and because we came here as babies, to go back and actually see where mum and dad got married, etc. Anyway, I got involved there, as it were, emotionally, and about in 2010, I just then went back, and again, something similar to what happened before happened to me again. And I just kind of filled up, the room filled up. I was in a hotel, and the room again filled up. I was reading a book by Deepak Chopra, and the passage that was there was an extraordinary passage. And this is, in fact, is what it was. This was the passage I was reading, which described me and almost my mission in life. Find the impulse of wisdom and intelligence within your infinite potential, and emerge now as the goddess of wisdom. You're the protector of civilization with your commitment to knowledge, wisdom, the arts and scientific knowledge. You're a true spiritual warrior dedicated to destroying any ignorance that impedes the expression of truth. Experience the consciousness of this wisdom. Look at the world through the eyes of wisdom and hear the prevailing conversation through her eyes. You are refinement, you are elegance, and you are civility and wisdom at its highest level. And as it sounds all very deep and rich, but then for the next 2 years I was wandering around, not sure where my mission would be. And then I bumped into two students from Bath Spa University, And that was the beginning now of what is happening here, certainly among certain young adults. And over the last 10 years, I've met up to, 50, 100 young adults who have experienced something new and development in their own lives, and something outside the system, as it were. I just want to go into a little bit about, dare I say it, quantum physics. At the moment, society by and large are living out of all the ideas of what they called Isaac Newton, where everything was static, when nothing moved, everything was predictable, etc., etc. You've seen this. It's a scientific model. And for many years there was the religious model here in the West, particularly with the church and the rest of it. Then in the last, I would suggest, 50 or 60 years, we've adopted a scientific model. And it's been the Newtonian one. But at the beginning of the 20th century, of course, Einstein came along. And Einstein kind of came in with a whole new physics, as you know. I'm not going to go into it, and I am no expert on it. But the little I've read, is that everything is light, everything is movement, everything is energy. And they actually say that we create our own reality. There's no such thing as out there. Out there is only there because we are perceiving it. If there's no observer, it's not there. So in many ways, the life out there is, again, I put this in quotations, is an illusion. The life out there isn't there. It's all inside. We are the creators. We are the creators of this life. One of the other thing then is very much that we kind of are greater than the sum of our parts. We're living in a holographic universe. I am in the universe and the universe is in me. I don't know whether you've seen it or, there's these like 3D images, and where there's a tiger, and there's a tiger there and he's about to jump out with his paws like this. Now imagine if that was all light. All right, it was a holograph and it was all light, made up of light. And we got a laser and we cut off the paw of one of the tiger and we put it over there. What would be over there on that table? And most people would say, well, the paw. No, in fact, the whole tiger appears. The whole tiger appears. Remember, it's all light and the rest of it. So we're greater than some of our parts, but the universe is in us. And if we say that the universe is in us and we're creators, there's only one of us here. There's only one of us here. Because there's an eternal energy the whole time. And nature has kept this energy going in the way, for instance, you see the birds flying together, or the big shoals of fish, or the trees rustling together. They've kept that, but we've lost it. We have lost it and we've seen ourselves kind of as separate from the each other and from the universe. But I really want to stress, there is only one of us here. There is only one of us here. And I think we have to, again, going back to what I said earlier, about awareness and about consciousness. At the moment, we're living lives of separation. And until we kind of get to lives back to what some people call interbeing, being within each other, as it were, and communicating from who we are rather than what we do. And until we move back from that, and this is what the new evolutionary period is asking us to do. And I'm so hopeful when I hear so many things that we're coming to extinction and, is the earth, going to kind of be destroyed. I'm just sad to hear all that because from my experience, and particularly with the young adults that I know in the last 10 years, there's a whole new world emerging. And this whole new world is to do with, for want of a better word, the spirit of all that is. And so the first question we really have to ask ourselves, who am I? Who am I? I just wrote this little poem, as it were, and I just feel I'd like to share it, because it means a lot. And remember, I'm talking about, when I say I am, I'm talking about my higher self. I'm not talking about Ray Raine. I'm talking about who I am. Because I am the unity of oneness who hovers over the darkness. I am the light and the energy which pervade all of creation. From me the springs of life gushes forth into fullness. From me the seeds, the flowers, the plants and the trees burgeon. I am all of these. I am the tree of life. From me the sounds that fill the universe vibrate in unison with my heartbeat. I am the birds, the animals and creatures that are swarming throughout the earth. I am the energy which pervades all of creation in one interconnected communion of love. I am the breath of life. I am in everything. I am everything. I am the light of the world. I am the perf of the word. Now I have the fullness of love because I create. I am humanity. And remember this, please. I am the child, the adolescent, the young adult, the girl, the woman, the man. I am the fullness of both the masculine and feminine. And I am the politician, the terrorist, the wayward child, the hormonal teenager, and an addict. I am the racist, the lucrative institution, the overpaid director. I am also the poor person, the destitute, and the unloved, and the prodigal son and daughter. I am vulnerable, lonely, and at times feel separated from everything. I am not my body, my mind, my ego, my personality. I am the undivided whole. I am creation, and creation is me. You are me, and I am you. Why? Because there is only one of us here. Since I've been living here in Bristol, I've been going out each day to a little place near us called Troopers Hill. It overlooks the whole of Bristol. But what is so unique about Troopers Hill, which I love going there, because it has a little description there, and it says the rocks there are 300 million years old. Now try to visualize 300 million years old. And when I meet people up there and they're reading it, I said, look, 300 million years old. I said, it puts things in perspective a little bit, doesn't it? You know, when we got worries and stuff like that. And but then that was my first connection with 300 million years old. And we know, I don't know whether you know this, we know that we think of rock is, solid, hard, and rest. It is, of course. I said, but over the years it has changed. It's a kind of whole composition, because it's been rock and then it goes into earth again, then back to rock. It has its own, for want of a better word, consciousness. So in many ways we have emerged completely. We, the human race, have emerged from these, or what we call, unconscious rocks. We have emerged from that, and which is just absolutely brilliant. And it was the first thing that kind of struck me about, in a funny sort of way, about time and what we mean by time. And just before I go on to that, I just want to explain one of the things I do, and some of you may have heard of what shamans do. These were the wise people of the ancient peoples, the leaders of the people. And they have a little exercise, which I do when I go up onto the hill, is calling on the four winds. The four winds. And the south wind, you ask the south wind to come, which is absolutely beautiful, but it's all to do with the emotions and feelings. And it gets you to look at what are my emotions and feelings. And are they, cause me problems or cause me distress? And you ask for the power of the wind. And then you look at the west wind, which is to do with the body, the physical body, the manifestation, our present manifestation, and how our body is that in relationship to the emotions and the feelings. And then the third one, the north, If you go to the north one, it's to do with the mind. And the mind is there, which I'll come back to in a minute. The mind is there as the thing, as you know, we all have active and alive minds which kind of keep reverberating all the time. And then if you look at the east, then you have what they call the spirit. And you call upon the spirit, which is the eternal spirit, the great spirit, as the North American Indians used to call it. So the emotions, the body, the mind, and the spirit. And there has to be a balance of that. Unfortunately, at the present moment, there's an imbalance in, not only in our lives personally, but also kind of with society. For instance, when we talk about the mind, you see, we talk about my mind, and some people, they use mind and brain as the same, in the same breath, as though it's the same. And we know that isn't the case. We just know that, for instance, the brain is the physical thing where we analyse, and it's analytical, and which is responsible for a lot of our actions. But the mind is something greater. The mind is just bigger. We all share the same mind because we've emerged from nature, which is one itself, and which, as you know, over the past few years, unfortunately, we've abused nature. So the mind is just one mind. We all share the one mind because we are one. And I think that is a very important point, I would suggest, a very important point, because unless we understand the mind, we won't understand what we mean also by spirit. So the spirit and the mind are two things which are working closely together and which are one, and which we can tap into at any time. And always remember that we don't have to go searching in many ways for this, that and the other. We already are. We're the fullness of everything. We're the fullness of life. We're the fullness of beauty. We're the fullness of perfection. And we are the light of the world. And I think that's the important thing to realise. But I just want to also bring you back about nature, because it is an important time, particularly the time that we're speaking of, what's going on around us at this time in 2020 and 2021. Nature is there. We've emerged from nature, and we as a human race have kind of not taken that on board. We've seen ourselves as superior to nature. We've just seen ourselves as superior to nature. And that is the way, and that's why we've abused it, unfortunately. For the last 400 or 500 years, we've abused nature and taken the riches from the earth for our own comforts. That's another issue, and there are many people who are kind of trying to support the environment and that. But the beautiful thing about nature that I've just, in the past few years particularly, I've just found myself kind of at one with nature. And I can go up onto that Troopers Hill and anywhere actually, and particularly with trees. And I can look at a tree with leaves or no leaves, and to me it is to do with stillness. 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 And somebody said some time ago, stillness is the heart of the cosmos. And to experience that stillness is a great, great, great privilege, and which I've experienced myself. The other thing, which is this whole question of time, and going back to the physics, they call it space-time and time-space and all that, and how Einstein, in fact, has changed the whole meaning of that. But for me, one of the things that's emerged is timelessness. The presence of now, of being totally present. And some of you I know may have read books like The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. But the sense of being now, and the thing that I've experienced as I've grown older, is past, present and future are all one. Linear time for me is going. It's much more a kind of vertical time. And when I look back on my own kind of life, and I see my own kind of life, I kind of, as it were, say, oh, that took place in 19 so-and-so, and that took place in 19, and that took place in 20. In fact, it's all happening now. It's very hard to describe that, but that just sense of that oneness and being now, which I think is important. I wrote this little poem, which I'll read only part of it for you, and I wrote it there, I think, about a year ago. As the hourglass turns and the sand of consciousness flows through the spine of my present form, I trooped up onto the hill of infinite timelessness. 300 million years of rainforests, pterodactyls, graduations, birthdays are now present in me. These rocks and trees, my ancestors, from whom I burgeoned forth and gave me form, the bloodshot sun setting the trees on fire, and my heart joins it in harmony with the watery moon. They grasp me in their sexual arms, embracing me in oneness and wholeness. I am transfixed in stillness. All that is, the eternal paradox, darkness and light, waves and oceans. My creative energy is challenged and then refined, like the alchemist's gold I see in the nature of things. I convert the lead of human existence into the gold of eternal holism. My lover bounds over the hills, embraces me, and I melt into her arms, her trees, her flowers, her body. I am an hermaphrodite, making love to the feminine moon and the masculine sun, pregnant from their union in this period of no time. Quantum leap into the unknown, where the past, the present and the future dissolve into the eternal now, the body becoming an antenna to dark matter which expands into an energy full of emptiness. The three brains start to befriend each other, giving me a logical, intelligent, intuitive wellness, a hot spring of freshness. Over 15 billion years, my eye that searched the Milky Way galaxy is itself an eye shaped by the Milky Way. My mind that searches for contact with the Milky Way is the very mind of the Milky Way galaxy in search of its inner depths.